Hello, everyone, and good morning from Nigeria. Today, we have gathered to celebrate the closing of the first cohort of the Digital Explorers program. Our agenda will start off with a project overview delivered by me, and then we'll listen to a presentation by Jobberman on the demand for digital talent in Nigeria. We will then watch a video and then have two discussion panels of where we will hear from some of the explorers and another from industry experts on the theme, Is Nigeria Ready to Harness Talent Potential? My name is Adeze Shoko, and I am the Director of Design and Strategy at Ventures Platform. At Ventures Platform, we do a lot of work that supports entrepreneurship and capacity building. In October 2018, we're visited by a high-level delegation from Lithuania led by Africo, the implementing partners on the project from Lithuania. It was about the project to not only take ICT talents from Nigeria to Lithuania, but this possibility of building a mutually beneficial relationship with Nigeria, because at the time, Nigeria and Lithuania had no bilateral relationship. So we had our initial skepticism and mistrust on both sides. In Nigeria, we were worried about enabling brain drain and if this entire project was a scam. I mean, where is Lithuania? And on the Lithuanian side, the concern was if they were actually ready to hire foreign talent and being open to hiring talent from Nigeria. So one thing led to another, and we decided to take on this challenge. Eventually, we found ourselves on a plane to Lithuania, where we knew little about initially, until we learned that this country of 2.8 million people, small but mighty, they have a buzzing technology ecosystem, a very thriving fintech environment with over 170 fintech companies, and other Lithuanian companies leveraging emerging tech to launch amazing solutions that are transforming businesses and everyday lives, from transport to banking, from e-commerce to e-government. So much to learn from this country. And so then the Digital Explorers vision made sense. And we focused on, being very niche and investing in analysis, understanding the markets in Lithuania, understanding the market in Nigeria, just trying to find the right approach to how this program will work. And we had intensive work and engagement with key stakeholders from government, public sector, private sector, non-governmental sectors before the actual project started. So what is Digital Explorers, you may wonder? It's an ICT-focused knowledge exchange program between two buzzing countries, ICT markets, Lithuania and Nigeria. It's a 6 to 1 year career advancement journey that takes Nigerian ICT specialists to Lithuania for a paid employment or traineeship. In a Nigerian context, the traineeship is like an internship in selected local companies in Lithuania, and provides tailored skills enhancement training, and also incorporates a reintegration support for those who intend to return home so that they are assisted to access employment opportunities. In addition to all of this, it incorporated institutional knowledge exchange. So how can both countries learn from each other to adopt best practice and policy reforms that will boost the innovation in Nigeria as well as in Lithuania? So the journey of the program starts up with us creating this perfect match, finding the talents in Nigeria. We had Lithuanian representatives from the private companies actually visit Nigeria to engage with the ICT ecosystem, interview some ICT talents, and then select the ones that they would hire to work in the companies. After that, we set to make the match perfect by handling different documentation to ensure that they leave Nigeria successfully to Lithuania and they settle in, understanding the workplace culture, being onboarded in the Lithuania culture so they can actually do their best work. And then after that, we start preparing the reintegration process of profiling the candidates and ensuring that whether they come back or they stay back in Lithuania, they settle in for full-time employment. So this is literally the journey of the program. And we did that for 1 year for the 15 talents that were selected in 2018 who are wrapping up their 1 year program right now, and for whom we've gathered to have a conversation and celebrate. Key achievements of Digital Explorers program so far is we did have 1,425 applications from across the country, 150 interviews, 77 of the applicants were brought to Abuja for a hackathon where they engaged with some Lithuanian trainers and Nigerian trainers to boost their skills and be prepped for interviews with the companies, after which we selected the 15 that eventually left. Matching was done between 15 explorers and 7 Lithuanian companies bold enough to hire Nigerian talent in this pilot program. 3 returned to Nigeria, 10 were retained and or employed in full-time employment in the Lithuanian companies. And lastly, we had a visa center. At this time, we never had a visa center for Lithuania in Nigeria, but we opened one in Abuja and Lagos to make the visa processing easier and more direct. Here's a picture of all the explorers, the 7 that were in Abuja for the hackathon as we birthed this pilot project. So there are key enablers for a successful talent mobility that are necessary. 1, there is need for strong support from government institutions and the wider stakeholders to buy in, as well as create the initiatives and incentives and the environment to ensure that talent development and mobility is possible in both countries. Second is understanding the needs of the private sector. If they are going to work in the private companies, it's important to understand the skill sets and the openness of the companies to hire this talent and boost their productivity. And thirdly is the need for continuous support for talent development and for the companies while the talents are in Lithuania and when they return. So that's another picture of the 15 while in Lithuania. Yeah, so key success indicators for us in Nigeria is that we learned that the project helped to build trust. With the explorers working in the companies for 1 year, it built trust and shared understanding. The explorers are trusted to represent the values of the companies in which they're working in and increase the productivity of the organization they work in. And proof of this is that they did actually hire some of the talent. After a while, we hope that this trust grows and translates into trust between the 2 countries where they actually can do business. Hopefully, Lithuanian businesses having outposts in Nigeria. After all, Facebook's operation in Nigeria and the visit of Mark Zuckerberg, we want to believe, was somewhat influenced by the Nigerian employees working in Facebook. The second success indicator here is a changing of narrative. Negative perspective in the media is reduced when you have good examples like the explorers that we had in the program and working in Lithuania. Also, the issue of illegal migration that we see in Nigeria and from most developing countries portrays negative image of job theft or enhanced insecurity in host countries. But the project is designed to support legal migration, right, in a way that is mutually beneficial to both countries. So Lithuanian companies actually demanding foreign talent, then the selection process being designed to select the best participants that will create value, boosting productivity in Lithuania, as well as enhancing the image of Nigeria, setting the stage for cross-border opportunity. There were no cases of job theft or insecurity threats, and there will be no such cases. And lastly is the potential for socio-economic impact. Foreign capital revenue is huge when we invest in our human resources. In 2018, diaspora remittances were more than oil, and this just shows that human resource remains our biggest resource in Nigeria. So the need to invest in human resource has huge economic foreign investments returns for Nigeria's economy. Second is the brain circulation. As explorers began to immerse themselves in the program, some of them have signed up to give back through mentoring and through training some of the pipeline in Nigeria just to boost the ecosystem. So rather than look at it as brain drain in the events that you create enabling environments to retain talent, there's possibility that the talents that leave do provide support for the economy and the ecosystem. And lastly is the population control. Nigeria's population is projected to be over about 800 million in the next decade. There's need to improve human capital development, not just for the growth of the individuals, but to boost productivity of our knowledge economy. In this case, it will not be about brain drain, but what we've called brain circulation or brain overflow, where we would have enough brains at home and enough to share with the world. Key lessons learned: one, enabling environment. The project isn't just about taking people to Lithuania, but creating an enabling environment for innovation and economic growth to thrive in both countries. For Nigeria, there is need to foster both micro and macro economic policies that create the enabling environment for talent attraction and retention. Brain flight is a mainstream mindset in Nigeria, but when the standard of living and earning capacity is competitive enough, it could attract and retain talent and reduce brain drain and enable brain circulation. The pipeline of quality talent is also very critical. We have huge talent potential, but there's need to refine the talent and make it ready for the global market. It's like rough diamonds with potential, but they need to be polished. So our learning curriculum is still very basic, but it needs to be designed to raise mature talents that can work in competitive global markets. Curriculum needs to focus on relevant technical skills and also includes soft and leadership skills. And lastly, there's a need to balance the equation. While we understand that some talents, when given these opportunities, would leave the country and be hired for full-time employment, we also need to balance program design to be rigged to support those that can work remotely from Nigeria and engage in traineeship type projects or internships where they can go and travel and gain global knowledge, but return back and work in their home countries, providing value at home. And this is a thinking with the second cohort for the Digital Explorers program, the female track. The second cohort is an all-female cohort that will select up to 15 Nigerian female data analysts and scientists for a traineeship in Lithuania for up to 6 months, after which they will be assisted to access employment opportunities in Nigeria. So we designed the program to test out a different model, taking in all the lessons learned, as I've said before, and the training is designed to provide market relevant skills, both for Lithuania's market, where they'll be working in and gaining experience, and Nigeria's market upon their return to provide value to companies here. So we've partnered with different talent development communities. We've launched a call for applications already, and we're excited to see the outcome of this program. So this is the nutshell of Digital Explorers, and we're really, really excited for the value that this project has brought to both countries. I'm going to stop now, and I'm going to introduce the next speaker from Jobberman, Adenike, to make her presentation on the brief study they've conducted on the demand for digital talents in Nigeria. Thank you very much. Adenike, over to you.
Thanks, Adede. Hi, everyone. I'm glad to be here. Today, we're just going to talk briefly about what we found when we interviewed employers on their demand for digital talent. I'm not going to spend too much time on the background and approach because Adede already gave a very good background. I'm just going to talk about what we did, what we found in our secondary research, and also what we found from our interviews with the digital explorers and from the employers of ICT talent. I'm going to be giving some conclusions and recommendations that I already see that the program is already beginning to adopt. So let's get right into it. Here, I'm just going to say that our objectives for this study were to provide an understanding of the experience gained in Lithuania from digital explorers, and also to assess the skills demand the employers are looking for and what exactly their requirements are. So yes, you're demanding developers and data analysts want to ascertain that, and also what exactly are you looking for in each of them. Our approach was to do some secondary research and find out what the drivers are for the digital economy and also for demand in the sector. We also interviewed the returning explorers and also the explorers that are still in Lithuania to find out how the experience of the program has been and how they've improved in their skills. We did 2 sets of surveys. We did a survey of our database of employers across levels, so SME, entrepreneurs, and companies, established companies. We also did an interview with 23 top ICT companies that are hiring high-level talent. In the end, we compiled a report that has actually informed this presentation to share with Ventures platform. So an overview of the sector, the key drivers are, we have a growing youth population, we have growing use of broadband and internet connectivity, we have the fourth industrial revolution, making companies be more high-tech, and then we have COVID-19 that has sort of accelerated digital transformation for these companies. And that has led to many people now advancing in computing. We have a lot of people now communicating online, working online. Work is now online, events are now online. So right now you won't need an event planner, you would need a digital event planner, and so on and so forth. We see that this type of skills, this type of changes are making sure that digital talent is now in high demand. And we'll see that as we go through the findings from the survey. Basically, the key things are the COVID-19, and which has accelerated the fourth industrial revolution, our growing youth population that is actually very tech savvy and digital natives, and also our mobile penetration and internet penetration. What we found from the digital explorers is that many of them found the program very useful. It was very useful in improving their pre-existing skills, and they were also able to learn new soft skills that they didn't have. The work environment in Lithuania was actually very valuable to them. They were able to learn the work culture, values, and communication and openness. And that's actually informing some of the reasons why, when coming back to Nigeria, a lot of them are looking for companies that would embody those values. We saw that many of them, when they return, want to work for fintechs, entrepreneur-led startups, and ICT companies. They're also willing to work for traditional companies that are beginning to adopt technology and add value in that way. They all want to continue to grow in their skills, and they want to become senior developers, senior data analysts. So they want to continue in this trend. They said the program has actually been very rewarding financially, and it has increased their earning potential. And they hope that if they do return, for those that want to return in the future, that they continue on this trajectory. So we're now going to spend some time going through our findings from our engagement with the employers. I'm going to start with hiring trends. We found that many of the employers do not hire a lot of people at once, but are constantly looking for digital talent. So a lot of them hire over 5 times a year, and at each time hire between 2 and 10 developers or data analysts. So this shows that the hiring is on a needs basis, but it is constant and it is there. Most of the skills are required for developers, mobile app developers, front-end developers, back-end developers, quality assurance specialists, and solutions architects. People for data scientists, people are looking for business analysts, data analysts, business intelligence analysts. We saw that for female employees, only 15% of our database companies actually have 35 to 50% female representation. And it's even less for the companies that we interviewed that are top ICT companies. That's 7.63%. A lot of them said it's not because they don't want to hire females, it's because then they go into the market to look for talent. Most of the people that apply are male, despite their many efforts to make their applications gender neutral and favor the female applicants. We also see that many of them believe that their demand for ICT talent will increase in the next 3 to 5 years. All of them actually. Many of them believe it will increase by over 25%. So there's no doubt here that demand for ICT talent will continue to grow. Although many of the companies in our database say that they do hire work for part-time and contract basis, because that's across SMEs and entrepreneurs and big companies alike. The companies we interviewed that were top ICT companies are mostly hiring for full-time. So there is that opportunity to get full-time roles. Although, like we know, the gig economy is here and a lot of people still get to do independent work. When we asked them on a scale of 1 to 7, how easy they find it to hire talent, most people said that for data analysts and data managers, it was 4 or less. They said that for skills like this, they do go into the market, but they don't get enough applications. And when they do, the application they're looking for. This is slightly better for developers, but it's also about a 5 or 6. And the key challenges, like I said, is shortage of qualified candidates. When they do attend and they do pass through the test, they do not meet the desired quality that the employers are looking for. and then gets worse as you go higher in experience level. So even if for entry level, you could still find some people that are diamonds in the rough, as you get more experience, it's harder to find qualified talents. People are increasingly beginning to look for product managers, data engineers. I mean, in addition to developers and data analysts that are traditional, people are looking for product managers, cloud computing professionals. They're looking for people to specialize more, because we know in Nigeria, a lot of the time, people like for one person to have multiple skills, a front designer. That is very valuable here where talent is scarce. But increasingly, people are looking for talent to be more specialized so that they can deliver quality in that area. So what employers are looking for, we've looked at the demand, but in the skills that they finally hire, they're looking for people who have good soft skills. We asked them on a scale of 1 to 7, what they find most valuable. We asked about qualification, asked about just work experience. We've asked about BAC versus SSE. And what we found is most of them value communication skills, previous projects and work experience, and good culture fit. And that is consistent with the fact that soft skills are harder to teach than technical skills. We also found that a lot of them they are willing to hire skills that don't have a university or tertiary degree, as long as they can prove that they can get the work done. And some of them also have the certifications to prove that they can work with the sort of the languages or the skills that are required for their job. We asked about international experience, and they do value it, although from many people's experience, it has to translate into the work that the people have been hired to do. So international experience will get you in the door, but it may not necessarily get you the job if it doesn't translate into your work. And like I said earlier, although employers value people who can combine skills, they also value depth in languages. So if you're a software developer and you can code in Java or Python, you have to be clear on which of them you have deep knowledge in. It could be in both, which is great, but you have to be at least deep in one of them and able to deliver your work. For remuneration, and this is me just comparing it to what the explorers have asked for, we saw that many people pay their developers less than 350,000 a month. And for many of those companies, they would increase it from 350 to 500 for experienced hires. But then when we looked at the companies that are top hires, these numbers slightly increased, but it remained about the same. But then for senior developers, I think it becomes about negotiation, and they're willing to pay between 600 and they're paying 600 and above. So we have now come to the conclusions. I think from everything we've seen, it is clear that there's a growing demand for ICT talent, for developers, for data analysts, and the rest. But there's still a challenge in finding the right people. And that's where programs like Digital Explorers come in, to make sure that people are able to find the right skills and be a channel for that. Employers they value interpersonal and communication skills. Soft skills are as important as technical skills. They want people who are willing to be self-leaders, who can communicate properly, who can get the job done, who have the tenacity to deliver on their work. We also found that although many of the explorers value the program, although the program was designed to somehow send some people to Nigeria to contribute to Nigeria as well, there's a hesitation to come back because of the maturity of the sector in terms of pay. Also, they would like to only come back if the culture of the company they're working for here matches the culture of the companies they worked for in Lithuania. Employers also, we saw, value high proficiency levels over your academic background. It doesn't matter if you didn't study physics or computer science. It doesn't matter if you went to university. For many of them, what matters is the work that you have been asked to do. Can your skill level deliver it? So because of these conclusions, we have the following recommendations. And some of them we already see that you're beginning to do. It'll be good to have placement partnerships, especially since it's hard for these people to hire quality talent. Programs like this are able to bring out quality talent and connect them directly to employers. For the female track, for example, because people want to have diversity goals and are not able to meet these diversity goals, it will be nice if your female track can connect directly to employers and say, okay, these are females who have been trained, who are qualified, and can be employed by these companies. Prioritize soft skills. As part of your curriculum, and many of the explorers said they did learn soft skills, but I don't know if I don't believe it was deliberate. I think deliberately imbibe soft skills into the curriculum, and make sure that there is a place to teach time management, effectiveness, alongside so learning on the job as well as learning as part of the curriculum. Working with employers to design the curriculum is also something that is very important, because the curriculum the people that they're going to work for when they return to Nigeria, and if they return to Nigeria, need to inform the curriculum as well. Because we had some returnees, we're saying that have a baseline assessment of participants, and make sure that the participant skills levels are ascertained, so that at the initial stages we understand what they're going to learn, and then at the end we can say, okay, what are the skill improvements that you've had throughout the program. I mean, the rest of the comprehension is just continue what you're doing, make sure there's proper monitoring and evaluation, see the growth of the program, and make sure it continues to inform the program and enable it to evolve. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nike, for that presentation. Next off, we'll go into the video to see the life of the explorers, the one-year experience.
A friend of mine just sent me the link of the website of Digital Explorer on WhatsApp, and he told me to put in, and I told him, I said, nothing is free in this world, and I don't know, but he just told me I got nothing to lose, and everything became real and authentic, and I would say it's one of the most interesting experiences of my career so far.
The first thing I did when I knew I was coming was to go to Google Maps and locate Lithuania on the map, because I've never heard of that country before.
A few of my favorite places in Kaunas, one of them would be Laisvės Alėja. I love that place so much, and I love to take walks there. I also love street art, the graffiti. They are amazing and beautiful to look at.
At first, I didn't know the internet would be as fast as this. And secondly, it was as the way I imagined it, because I wanted a city that is less crowded, and it's really less crowded, so not so different, but it's still cool.
The fact that Lithuania is a country whose tech space in general is growing and advancing and booming, that is something that I think it has in common with Nigeria.
You know, working with my colleagues to drive, to learn more, to know more, to, you know, get to know more about what they're working on, and self-development. They're actually self-driven, and this is something that it's very common in Nigeria. We are very self-driven people, and we want to achieve more, you know, want to learn more about what we're doing. And I kind of found that here, which kind of made it like a safe landing for me, because it was like, oh, okay, you're not at home, but it feels like home. So yeah, that was really great.
Okay, hello everyone. Good afternoon, depending on where you are. Good morning, good afternoon to you. And we have an interesting panel conversation right now. I'm going to be speaking with Amarachi, with John, and with Dayo. These are three explorers who are, two of them are still on the program. One has returned to Nigeria. Just trying to understand your experiences so far and how it's been with you. So I think I'll go with ladies first. Amarachi, have you been? How has it been in Lithuania so far?
It's been nice. It's been quite an experience, quite a journey, and pretty much interesting.
John, how's it been?
It's been, I would say it's been an eye-opening experience. That's just the summary.
Dayo, for you, is Dayo on? Can't see Dayo.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh yeah, Dayo's here. Hey Dayo, how you doing? So Dayo, you spent about just a couple of months in Lithuania, and then so just compare. How was your experience for the few months you spent on the program versus your return back to Nigeria?
Yeah, it was great. Lithuania is a nice place, and the work experience was valuable. I think, yeah.
And coming back, has the experience been impactful in any way to what you're doing right now?
Oh yes, I think majorly the culture, the way of approaching business requirements, the way of approaching discussing with people generally, understanding people of different cultures. You know, sometimes if you're here in Nigeria and you're working with others, maybe expats or foreigners, there's a way we behave. But now I'm more conscious that these people have feelings too, these people have their mindsets too, so you have to accommodate that in your communication, in your escalations and all the business behavior. You have to understand that they have feelings too. They have the way they have things that they do normally. So being in Lithuania put me on the other side of the spectrum where I am the expert, I am the foreigner, and I'm dealing with the locals there.
Interesting. Yeah. That's quite an interesting experience for you to have the tables turned around. Amarachi, just curious, why did you apply for the Digital Express program? I want to know when was the first time you heard about it? What went through your mind and what made you apply?
I heard about the program for the first time in one of the many groups that I was a part of, and a friend also shared it with me. When I saw it, I'm like, okay, first of all, where is Lithuania? I had never heard of the country before. And then I looked at, the application process. And second of all, I was like, this is a long process. And then I'm like, what is the catch? Like many of us, I think that was the first question that many of us had in mind. What is the catch? Why are you coming here and why are you doing this? And then I just decided to apply because why not? What do I have to lose? I'm going to be in the comfort of my job while I apply for this. And if I get it, fine. If not, we move. So that was my first impression about it.
So Amarachi, you've been in Lithuania for almost a year now, right? Right about that.
Over a year.
Over a year now. So what's the catch?
I still ask myself that question.
All right, great. John, where were you when you first heard about the program and why did you apply?
Okay, I was working in a fintech in Nigeria, and I got the link of the program on WhatsApp, one of the groups that I belong to, and for the first time, I was busy, so I didn't really have time to check out something that I haven't seen the other side. That is, I haven't seen how the other party would gain from just coming to do something like a charity stuff. And I didn't really regard it for I think the first week, the second week, I didn't really check it out. And I was just less busy, and I just maybe I should try this. I still don't have anything to lose, and I think even when I sent in my video, I did it like 5 times before I finally sent in the video for the application. But it was like I had nothing to lose, and it sounded interesting. And for the fact that it would give me a diverse kind of experience was really the main motivation for the final application.
Interesting. Thanks. Dayo, I know from most of the applicants, because I engage with all the explorers, you were one of the more advanced people. You already had like a really senior career going on. You were already probably a team lead at your organization. So I remember when we were evaluating and we came to your application, we were quite curious. Why would someone like you want to apply for a program like this? So curious to know about how you heard about it, but also what was part of the factor that influenced your decision to apply.
Okay, I have a WhatsApp group with some friends, and somebody just shared it there that, oh, there's this link, guys, check it out. So I checked it, and the intriguing part for me was that it was a one-year program. It wasn't about immigration. It was just about self-development and exploring. So that caught my attention. I said, okay, Lithuania. I checked on the map. Where's Lithuania? Okay, Eastern Europe. And it's a one-year program. You get to work there, experience new cultures, and come back home better. So that was the main catch for me. Basically, the overseas work experience.
Interesting. Okay, so I'll go back to Amarachi again. So now you already were working in Nigeria before you got this opportunity in Lithuania. So you have a fair understanding of the comparison between these two places. I want you to just elaborate a bit about your experiences in these two ecosystems. How was your experience in Nigeria versus your experience in Lithuania? Pros and cons of both of them.
So I would say in terms of culture, the company that I worked for in Nigeria was not the average Nigerian work culture, because it was a small company and we also ran a flat structure, and we're also, you know, open, and we were able to share our ideas, and we took ownership of the project. But I know that this is not the general, or this is not the ideal and what you get in Nigeria. So for me, I would say that—
Sorry to interrupt, but what's the ideal? What do you typically get? Just
well,
so
first of all, you have a boss, and then everybody knows who the boss is, and there's always some form of bureaucracy when it comes to decision making. And sometimes when you even need to, you know, do something or fix something, it has to go through like tons of approval before you get there. So in organizations like that, things don't happen fast. You're not working fast. There's just a lot of bottlenecks, and people usually just feel like a number and one of the employees, and you don't feel like your opinion or your ideas or suggestion would be, you know, taken seriously. That is what I hear. Of course, I also know that in the tech space, especially with startup these days, is not the case, and it's more balanced and it's more open and welcoming. So I would say that I never worked in a traditional work environment. So in terms of work culture, it wasn't, you know, that different. But of course, the company that I'm currently working for is bigger in terms of numbers and in terms of projects that are being done. So that's the difference. And of course, the language. The language is a big difference, and it was quite challenging, you know, coming here and working with people who have completely different culture, different language, different everything. So for me in the beginning, the difference was that even though I knew that, you know, I could speak my mind, it was difficult for me to speak my mind because I was with different people, and I just felt like, you know, how do I put it? I just felt like there's something different. I don't know what these people have in mind. So it took some time for me to come out of my shell, right? So the difference was that I had to do some cultural adjustments, as opposed to when you're working, you don't need that part. Yeah, so that was the major difference for me.
Interesting. And you've been there for over a year now. How would you rate opportunities in Nigeria versus opportunities in Lithuania, especially for talent, for tech talent, for young people who are doing stuff in the innovation technology space? What would you say is the difference or the comparison between both?
I'd say, and this was something that was mentioned in the panel from yesterday, is that Nigerians are entrepreneurial. So like everybody is thinking of the next big idea. And when you're thinking of the next big idea, you need people to help you work on it, right? So I feel like in that sense, there are always people who have stuff to work on, and you would always find projects and ideas to work on. It may not, the only problem would be the pay, right? But I feel like if you have the talent in Nigeria, you would almost always find something to do because there are jobs. And here, I don't think is the case. I may be wrong, but I feel like it could also be because, you know, what we are missing here is the network. Like in Nigeria, where people know that you do what you do, and then there are always people reaching out to you. So that could be the difference. And because we're not exactly ingrained in that network yet, it feels like it would be more difficult, you know, to see these opportunities, or that the opportunities are not as abundant here. So that's something to think about.
Oh, interesting. John, let's just piggyback off of that. You've been there for over a year. I'm not sure how plugged into the ecosystem there that you are, but how would you rate the opportunity for talent there versus Nigeria, and also how would you also just compare your experience working in Nigeria? I know in Nigeria you also managed a team before you went over to Lithuania. So how would you rate the work culture, the work environment, your experience so far? Basically
Okay.
on the work.
I think I would start from the last question, which is the comparison between the work cultures in the different countries. And I think the first thing I noticed is the human resource, they are more people focused here, because it's not just about getting the job done, it's about making sure that you are also happy while trying to get the job done. And it's like a ripple effect. When you're happy, you will try to go extra mile in getting the job done, and even be more creative, even do things that they didn't tell you to do. Now, that's one big difference that I noticed, and that's a very big motivation. Then the second one I noticed
Before
is
you go
that,
to the second thing, did you
okay,
ever think about why that difference might be between Nigeria and Lithuania? Why there are more people there focused and here more business focused? Did you ever think about
so
it?
I think I would say from my little research, I would say that there's this or this belief, or not just this belief, there's just this structure around human resource in Nigeria. It's just all about recruitment and somebody just sending mails about public holidays to you. Yeah, it's not just, we're not just doing recruitment. Recruitment is just like the little part of the description of what the human resource department are doing. Actually, the main job is to make sure the people inside are not going outside of the company. So they always have this KPI of we not losing the people who have inside. And if you don't lose them, it means probably that they are happy. So that's one reason I think it's probably because of that. Then I think I was going to the second point, which is I was trying to talk about um, here, for example, people mostly just do one job. People mostly just come to the office. After the office, they go back home and do nothing else. But in Nigeria, we have this entrepreneurship mindset that you grew up with. In fact, right from the uni days, you already have it at the back of your mind that you cannot really survive doing one thing. So which pushes you to make sure that you gather more things to be able to learn more things. So that in turn would make you more uh, versatile and more flexible when it comes to talent. But here, for example, if you try to get somebody to maybe to come on a project, a side project outside their work, you have to be really convincing. You have to be really convincing, because work-life balance is key to them. Though, yes, we want to take up your project, but you have to be really convincing. And at the same time, you wouldn't still hit into my work-life balance. That's another thing. Because I was able to attend several, conferences, meetups, and the like. People show up for meetups. People share knowledge, and the meetup are quite really interesting. When you see uni guys, like university guys, displaying stuff and all that. But I wouldn't compare the volume, and I wouldn't compare the frequency of that to how it is in Nigeria. It's a lot more frequent, and because we have more people and we have the competition in Nigeria is way, way, way higher than the way it is here.
Interesting. So how you rate the environment for opportunity? Would you say there are more opportunities here versus Lithuania, or vice versa?
That's quite difficult, because if we want to compare the opportunity, we have to compare the population. So it has to be a percentage
I didn't get that.
basis.
The compensation.
I said, if we want to compare the opportunity, we have to also consider the population.
Population, okay.
So yes, we have to consider that. I haven't done the mathematics. I'm aware that there are a lot of opportunities here, but the only difference is that you have like everybody or the system wants you to harness the opportunity. Like you have like a springboard for you to be able to easily harness the opportunity, which is a little bit different because in Nigeria you have to be the one to like put in extra like effort to be able to get that opportunity. You can have the same opportunity, but you would do more work to get it in Nigeria than you would probably do it here.
Interesting. So you're saying like there's a much more of an enabling environment allow for opportunities to thrive and for new things to start.
Yes. I'm saying that.
Interesting. Dai, over to you. You've had the best of both worlds in this very, very short time frame. So I'd like to hear your thinking around the comparison between the two ecosystems, the two countries, also in terms of opportunity and also work ethic, work culture and the like.
Okay, let me start with Lithuania. For instance, Kaunas, from my apartment to my office was 15 minutes walk. So for once, I never bothered about traffic. Sometimes if I take the bus, if there's so much cold, if I take the bus, I get there in 20 minutes. It takes longer with the bus because of the bus route. So those are the factors that make walking easy. I leave my apartment by 7:30 and I'm at work before 8. And I leave work at 4 o'clock, 4:30, and I'm home before 5. So I still have the rest of the day to do other things, to relax, to watch a video, to learn more things, or to visit people. But if you compare, and those are the things that aid development, they aid, they give you a sense of liberation in your mind. You're not getting home and figuring out, oh, where do I get power? Where do I get internet? Or my internet is unstable. From my workplace to my house, there is internet everywhere. If I'm walking on the street and I need internet, there's internet on my phone. If I get into a cafe, I can use their internet. So it's just those things. I remember there was one day where I was walking home and I have one app that is online there, and someone from Nigeria called, oh, Dio, we're having this issue. And I just walked into a pizza shop. I ordered pizza. The guy told me to take 20 minutes. I said, that's just sufficient. So I sat down, I plugged to the internet there, and I worked for 20 minutes. I fixed the issue. My pizza came and I ate dinner, and that was it. But it's a bit different if you compare that to what we have in Nigeria. The highbrow areas have the businesses, the lowbrow areas have residential. So moving from residential to work, you'll be spending maybe an average of 2 hours commute in a day. And that alone is not like when you spend that 1 hour on the road, you get out and you are jumpy again. You're looking for a reset, maybe a cup of coffee or a small chat with somebody to just get you started again. So those are the things that affect. And also in Lithuania, things work. Things work. You're not, if you have money, you get things that are working already. But juxtapose here, you have money, you still need to make your money work. It's not enough for you to pay for electricity, then you need to get the guy that is supposed to come and fix something. And those extra things that we really do not need, those things that hamper productivity. So I think it's majorly the environment. And when you take a developer that is used to the kind of environment in Nigeria and you put them in an environment that works totally, they will just thrive. They will just thrive. It's not something amazing. It's not something. It's not a surprise that the guys in Lithuania are thriving because everything is now working. Their minds are. You still look at John now. He's just chilled and he has time to think about work. He has time to think about what's going to happen next weekend. And Amy has time to think about, okay, I want to have friends over to talk about things on the weekend. It's not about thinking working like you are the federal government and you are taking care of yourself again. So it's just the environment. And once we have a working environment, a real working environment, then things will change. And but right now, some of the things are happening. COVID has happened now. Everybody needs to go remote. Everybody needs to work online. I have attended meetings currently where I would have to go to the customer's office and sit at the reception and wait. But right now, I've done projects from start to finish without leaving my home. And those are the things that are making life easier. My cost in Nigeria now. So, well, that's the good side of COVID, but we're getting better at it. So once the environment increases, I think there'll be that balance and there'll be more opportunity for people to learn easily than trying to make their environment work before they learn. So I think that's my take on that.
Awesome, thanks, Dayo. And now to the elephant in the room. This for me is the biggest question. And I will just take it from Amarachi to John to Dayo. Is when you were applying for this program, did you have it in mind to return to Nigeria? Why did you have that decision? Or at what point during the program did that decision change? Amarachi, let's start from you.
Did I have it in mind to come back?
To come back, yes.
Honestly, no. I wasn't exactly averse. I wasn't exactly averse to the idea, right? I just knew that it was going to take a lot for me to come back. And I would have come back if I found something that was interesting or fascinating enough. And I like to say this, even though people think that I'm joking or I'm trolling or it's my village people. But really, if I find something that, something that excites me or something to build that I consider exciting, then I will come back to Nigeria because somehow, somewhere in my heart, I'm still a patriot. And as bad as Nigeria is, I still think about Nigeria a lot and I would really want to build something in Nigeria.
What do you consider interesting? What does interesting mean to you?
I don't know, but I feel like when I see it, I'll know.
Oh, okay. Great. John.
Okay, so for me, I think it was 50-50 when I left Nigeria. I wasn't really sure I was going to stay here, but I wasn't also sure that I was going to go back to Nigeria. I was considering also maybe porting to another country and have another experience. But after the second or third month, and the human resource came and asked us, "Do you guys want to stay?" I was like, "Yo," because he felt as if we were part of a family, and you don't just opt out of a family like that. And he also felt like the company has invested a lot, because aside from the Digital Explorer trainings, the company also invested a lot in us for training. So I felt I probably still have to give back to this company, even if I'm going to leave someday.
So did you feel guilt-tripped to stay back?
No, I'm not guilt-tripped. I'm excited. This is my family. No.
Okay.
But it's awesome.
Yeah, interesting. Dayo, you came back, so it's almost like you couldn't wait to get back. So
yeah.
So on the more serious, like when you were leaving, I knew you were one of the people that I know. Just talking from the beginning, you were like, I am going to come back. I just wanted to do this. What was going through your mind? What informed that? And at what point did you say, look, I'm just going to come back to Nigeria?
Well, I was in a transition from being more tactical to being more strategic, and I felt that I needed that exposure of maybe an overseas work experience or something more cultural to build my strategic skills. And so when that came up, I just felt, whoa, this is the right avenue, and it's a 1-year program. So the first month was great. Winter was coming in, it was getting colder, and it was great. But along the line, I just felt it's just going to be the same thing if I continue month after month, because I knew I was going to come home. I'm already grounded here in Nigeria on many things, career, family. So I knew I was going to come home. It was just a matter of when. And when an opportunity came for me to come back to Nigeria, and the opportunity was very, very interesting. So I hopped on the next plane back home.
You did, nice. So I think one of the common threads I see here is family, connection, emotional. So it's not just about the work and environment, it's also about emotional connection to the place and the people there. Okay, so at this point, we're coming to we are literally at the end of this panel, and we have another panel next, and I'd like to introduce the great and incredible people on this panel. So as the moderator of the next panel, we have Aboyeji, who's the general partner and co-founder of Future Africa, which is a fund that's literally geared to transforming Africa. It's really a great honor to have you here with us. The panelists, we have Dr. Zarefa Mustafa. I'm representing the Director General of the National Information Technology and Development Agency, which is NITDA. We also have Ida. Ida is a Senior Digital Development Specialist at the World Bank. We have Ayokunnu. Please, sorry if I murder your name. I really apologize. Ojeniyi, who is the project manager at the Ease of Doing Business office in Nigeria. We have Maya. Maya is an incredible founder and partner at Ingressive Capital, one of the more progressive venture capital firms in Nigeria. It's really lovely to have you here with us today. And we have Tunde Adeniran, who is the group head of product at Ringier One Africa Media. And then we have Chuka Ofili, the founder and CEO at Interstellar Labs. This is this is a star-studded panel. So at this point, I'll give room for Ian to take over from here. Thank you so much, everyone. Ian, over to you.
Okay, I'm able to turn on my my voice, but it seems like I can't turn on my camera. Is it possible someone turn it on for me? Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. And thanks for this star-studded panel that we have here today. Good things, I know all of you individually. So what I'll just have us do to begin is probably just introduce ourselves. And I will begin. So my name is Iyinoluwa for those of you who may not know me. I am the general partner of the Fund for Africa's Future, also known as Future Africa. We connect innovators to investors who believe that we can transform Africa by turning its biggest challenges into global business opportunities. And I'm super excited to be on this call today. And so we'll just take it from our right with Maya. Maya, maybe you can introduce yourself.
Hello.
You can unmute.
Nice to see you.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Okay, cool. Thank you, E. My name is Maya. I am the founder of Ingressive Capital, which is a $10 million early stage VC fund. We invest in emerging technologies in Nigeria, Kenya, Ghana, and Egypt. I'm also the founder of Ingressive Advisory, which has assisted more than 50 firms to enter and operate across sub-Saharan Africa, as well as the co-founder of Ingressive for Good, which is a nonprofit that provides micro scholarships, technical skills development, and talent placement for African youth. So if you're looking for anything from a scholarship for your computer science degree at university to you need help buying a laptop, data, or paying for your Coursera course, reach out to ingressive.org. Thanks.
Fantastic. Should we go to Chuka, Mr. Chuka Ofili?
Hello, everyone. Can you all hear me?
We can hear you clear, loud and clear.
All right, great. My name is Chuka Ofili. I'm the founder and CEO at Interstellar Labs. We are a technology company that offers products and services that helps with remittance using blockchain or backed by blockchain. I'm also a software architect. I'm a Google developer expert and then a certified cloud architect.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Let's go to Mr. Adeniran. Hello, Mr. Adeniran. If you're talking, you're mute. Oh man, we still can't hear you. What's going on? Can somebody help us? We still can't. Okay. Oh, it's from your end, Mr. Adeniran. Okay, we'll go and come back.
Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, we can hear you. Fantastic. Let's do that.
Okay, I think I had some issues with my headset. It's fixed now. So my name is Tunde Adeniran once again. I'm the group head of product for Ringia One Africa Media. Ringia is parent company for popular brands like Jobberman, Cheki, Brighter Monday in East Africa, Expert Dakar. Basically, Rome is a marketplaces company helping professionals find jobs, find their first home, and several other things that we do on the classified front. Happy to be here.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Mrs. Ida, I'm just checking, making sure we have everybody. Mrs. Ida, do you have your video on? Can you put on your...
It's a bit too early for me in DC right now, so I'm not gonna put it on.
No problem.
Thanks.
No protest.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mboob. I work at the World Bank in the Digital Development Global Practice. I'm very happy to be here on this panel. So thank you very much to the VP team for the invitation. In terms of what I work on, typically supporting African governments to develop their digital economy, working directly right now with Nigeria on the National Digital ID Program and other digital economy projects, including digital skills. I'm looking forward to speaking with all of you. Thank you.
Fantastic. Mr. Ayo, are you there?
Yes, I am. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ayokunnu Ojeniyi. I work as project manager at the Enabling Business Environment Secretariat. Essentially, we work with ministries, departments, and agencies to make it easier for businesses to thrive in Nigeria.
Fantastic. Super excited about that. Great. I think there was one more person who was a Mrs. Zarefa Mustafa. Is she on? And
Hi.
Is it early for you too? Can you put on your video so we can see your face?
Let's see.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, all right. My name is Zarefa Mustafa. I work at Office for ICT Innovation and Entrepreneurship, and a subsidiary of the National Information Technology Development Agency, NITA. So OIIE was established to create, to foster the development of the technology innovation ecosystem in Nigeria through policies and programs and frameworks. Thank you.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you very much. I think that's everybody. I am sure. Oh, wait. I think I'm supposed to. Ada, are you part of this panel? Sometimes I forget. Okay. Forgive me. So yes, you're not part of the panel. So we're going to go with the folks we have. Did I miss anybody? Ada, can you give me a heads up? Okay, fantastic. So thank you all for joining this. We've got a very interesting session today. We're going to be talking about talent and whether Nigeria is ready for the talent influx that it has and what it can do to get better. And just by way, I just want this to be like a free-flowing conversation to the extent that it can. So what I would just ask panelists to do is, if you feel led to answer a question, I would direct it at one person, but I would try my best to basically if you can just unmute your mic and just feel free to speak even out of turn. I mean, I think that makes for a more engaging discussion. So I want to start with a question I often ask myself, and people always ask me, especially when they see me doing my show for Nigerian talent. What exactly is special about Nigerian talent? Like, what's so special about Nigerian talent? Why do we even care? And I'm going to start with Adeniran, and I hope that Chuka can also chip into that conversation. What exactly is it that is special about Nigerian talent?
Oh wow, we are very special people in Nigeria. I've had the opportunity of working with. So I work as a product manager, right? So which means I have to work very closely with software engineers and data scientists and so on. I've had the privilege of working with engineers across the world, from US to India to Europe, you name it. And there's this thing about being a Nigerian that I tell myself and I tell my colleagues on the team. It's not special. Nigerians are highly entrepreneurial, right? I think John mentioned it on the previous session. And what that does is, you would more easily find a Nigerian working overtime, even though he's not being paid to, or working on a weekend, even though he's not being paid to, as against someone abroad, right? A lot of the engineers I've had to work with in Europe, for example, 5 is 5. Once it's 5, they're not going to answer you. You better just don't tell them anything, right? But if it's a Nigerian, even if he's heading home or he's at home with his wife, he could call him and say, "Guy, how far? I have this challenge. Can you help me solve it?" And they'll be a bit more receptive to being agile and just being able to jump on things and fix things like impromptu, right? So that's really one of the Nigerian spirits I see that really stands out.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm going to jump on Tunde as well, jump on what Tunde is saying, I think the key thing for me with my experience is the hustle spirit, right? And it kind of translates into everything, not even just as, Nigerian developers or Nigerian, tech talent. It's just a general undertone as being a Nigerian, this hustle spirit. So and when I say hustle is because, coming from two backgrounds, you have, you live in an environment where there's some structural deficiencies, although some it's working in, for some people of a higher class, but some people in the middle class or lower class, depending on which strata you find yourself, it doesn't matter. We have the same mentality, but this is by any means necessary to get things done, because if you don't get anything done for yourself, no one will, and that's kind of the mentality. And if someone comes along to get something done for you, that's a benefit, right? So that hustle spirit then translates to tech talent. So when people then decide that, okay, we want to go into technology or want to learn how to do code or do XYZ, that hustle spirit translates into everything that they do, how they learn, how they work, even how they communicate, and that's why, Tunde already mentioned, it's same experience with me. I worked with a lot of people in Silicon Valley, and truly 5 p.m. is 5 p.m. You know what I mean? But as a Nigerian, if you have something on your desk that's eating away at you and you're like, I have to solve this problem, and it's not because you want to shine as a superstar, it's just the hustle spirit. Those who have been, who were born locally and bred here before they got exported or are still here, That's it for me.
Yeah, awesome. Love it. I am super love those answers. I wonder if anybody else has anything to chime in. Please, by any means, feel free to just pop in and tell us what you think. Anybody else? Okay, I'm just gonna. Does somebody have anything to add? Just unmute yourself and say something. Don't worry about.
So this is Ida.
Okay, fantastic.
Hi.
Yes. Ida, you can continue.
Oh, sure. Just to add to what everybody has said, I think one of the reasons, at least externally, what makes Nigeria special is your population. You constitute 47% of West Africa. Your youth population, is at this moment, I think 41 million, and by 2050 expected to grow to 84 million. And that is the population that has potential. So externally, when everybody looks at Nigeria, they think it's one of two things. It's great potential, But also, if we don't address, the unemployment, if we don't address some of the structural issues that are there, then you have 85 million people who are coming into Nigeria with no opportunities. And so at least from a development perspective, when we look at Nigeria, we think, how do we make sure that we can support the country to develop their best? Your biggest resource is your population, is your youth population. And that's sort of one of the biggest reasons that, Nigeria is special externally. And definitely, I do agree. I mean, we have a lot of projects in Nigeria, and absolutely the entrepreneurial spirit is there, the hustling spirit is there. But I think one thing is sometimes it sounds as though we're almost glorifying that. And that is, I mean, the reason that people are so driven and so competitive is because there are no jobs, and so you need to do whatever you can do to survive. And even when you do have people who are employed, a lot of times they're also underemployed. And so, in 5 o'clock cannot meet 5 o'clock if your salary is not going to take you. First of all, if you're not going to get your salary, or it's not going to take you sort of even past half of the month. So it is a great benefit. It is a big plus. And, we've done a lot of training programs in Nigeria where the program starts at 9 and people show up at 6 a.m. every morning because they want to practice before, the program actually starts, because they do recognize that, we're competing with a massive, massive pool. So absolutely, I mean, we love having projects in Nigeria. It's a fantastic place, and we just want to make sure we work with all the relevant stakeholders to address these issues so that we can create an enabling environment where you can take the time to relax and sort of think strategically and bigger, rather than having to just jump from one job to another just to try and make ends meet. Thank you.
I love that. That's a very excellent contribution. So I think, just leaping off of that that conversation, I think one question I want to direct at Mrs. Zarefa is what legal or policy frameworks do you think can increase the level of Nigerian talent in the digital economy?
All right, and thank you, Mr. Ian. All right, so currently we have so many policies addressing different areas of the technology ecosystem. For example, if you look at the digital economy policy and strategy, there are bits of it that, that is focusing on the technology ecosystem. If you look at NIPC, they have some incentives that are somehow looking at that are somehow focused on the technology ecosystem, and then also some tax incentives also that are that we have for micro, small, medium scale enterprises, but we don't have one specific policy that is focused on the technology ecosystem, and that is one of the areas that OIIE, one of the areas that OIIE is focusing on. We're looking to create a policy on the technology innovation and entrepreneurship, to identify all these policies that we already have on ground, to make them to synergize what we have currently on ground, to make it into one document, so as to create, foster the growth of the technology ecosystem.
Fantastic. Does anybody else have any contributions to that? Maya, what do you think we can do from a policy and legal framework to increase the engagement of Nigerian talent in digital economy?
Yeah, so what we're seeing at the nonprofit with Ingressive for Good, and we launched the nonprofit formally this year, but it was actually initiatives that we had as just OpEx and marketing expenses from our for-profit companies over the last 3 years. So we've been able to sort of track what happens when you give people either money, or you give them technical products, or you give them specific training, or you empower the universities and the education establishments that already exist, and get to see what seems to be most impactful as far as like tangible skills and like upskilling, as well as employability, like those are our main metrics that we sort of analyze for and optimize for. And there's no shortage, as we've talked about before, there's no shortage of demand and desire to be educated. I mean, Nigerians are the most educated nationality in the US, Nigerians in Nigeria constantly seeking to learn more, to get more training. It's not as if there's an unemployment problem because people are not hungry. People here are the hungriest that I've ever experienced living anywhere in the world. And so I would say, as far as government initiatives that sort of facilitated learning and education and employability and access in the country, I would say it would really root down to, because the one thing that I see is government programs trying to replicate established systems that work effectively in market as is. And instead of doing that, I don't think it's in any way shown impactful or sustainable to continuously try and reinvent the wheel with every new administration. I think the most impactful thing would be to establish very clear metrics, like what are the most impactful programs on the ground in Nigeria as is that produces, when the people graduate, when they participate, not only is their earning power increased, not only do they have additional skills, but they're immediately employed. Identifying those, because there are really incredible programs that are just underfunded on the continent right now, and specifically in Nigeria right now from HNG. If Ndela could be expanded, if, there are a number of human resource programs as well as technical training programs at universities, at third-party private organizations that are incredibly impactful. And so I think empowering the infrastructure that already exists in the private sector and establishing, whether it be a grant system or something, or like a tax incentives, something that allows what works to continue working and to grow. And I also think if the government established a program that provided government loans for those who wanted to buy technology products and do additional learning, that would be incredibly impactful again to the ecosystem. So, you can get either a grant if it's need-based, or you can get a low interest rate government loan if you want to buy a laptop, if you want to do anything like that. So government facilitation, not government trying to build something new.
Awesome. That's great feedback for government here. I don't know, maybe Mr. Adeniran or Mr. Ofili want to add anything?
Yeah, I'll just go ahead. So to latch on to what Maya just mentioned, I'll look at it from two sides. What can government do and what can the private sector do, right? From a policy perspective in terms of improving the entire ecosystem. Maya rightly said it, that the government needs to do better at facilitating learning and development. Right now, there's not really a structured way in terms of how do you learn digital skills in Nigeria, right? We don't have a lot of digital training schools, for example. So product management, I can count the number of training schools off the top of my left hand, right, that offer product management training, right? Software engineering, you probably have to just go online and figure it out. And if you want to learn by yourself, there are several impediments. Cost of data is a challenge. You have to foot the bill for that yourself. On the private sector side, we've seen a couple of initiatives coming up to fill these gaps. So for example, Jobberman, a subsidiary of Ringia One Africa Media, has a partnership with the MasterCard Foundation to train 5 million Nigerian youths between the ages of 18 to 35 over the next 5 years. And through this initiative, Jobberman is offering youths employability skills, soft skills training, basically presentation skills, communication skills, things like that. We can amplify these initiatives, right, to have the desired impact across the ecosystem. Because while we say that we have a very large population, there's still a lot of opportunity for growth in terms of digital literacy, for example. What proportion of our youths are digitally literate? What proportion of our youths are able to use a computer sufficiently? So a lot of efforts can still go on in this regard from the government side and from the private sector side. But then again, these are the things that we are doing from the private sector side to meet those gaps and plug them.
Yeah, so I'll just, okay, go ahead. I wanted to jump in.
No, Chuka, you continue and we'll go to Ayo, because I want to hear everybody's thoughts about this. This is the central conversation that we're having today.
Yeah, definitely. So coincidentally, I spoke on this topic around the platform, on the panel, on the platform that just held on the 1st of October. And I think myself, Maya was also on that panel. Bosun, Tijani, a DB, a couple of industry expert, Chika will be in, some of us. And this topic also came up, and, I just want to re-express or reiterate my views, right? I feel, of course, the private sector is doing what the private sector can do. There's only so much they can do, right? But if we're looking at it from a population perspective, Ida has already highlighted that population is our biggest strength. And some of these programs, while they are great and while they work and while they shouldn't stop, it is going to be very difficult to amplify its scale. The scale is the issue. But we already have infrastructure, or let me say the word, we already have an educational system that works. However, deficient or sufficient it is, depending on how you see it, whichever school it is that you find yourself in. These schools are where the majority of our populace and our youths are going through. So secondary school and the universities, from the state levels to the federal levels, right? Inclusive of the private schools. If the government also, in partnership with the private sector, comes together and focus on how they can add to the existing curriculum or enhance the curriculum that we have now to include not just digital skills, but things like software programming and engineering, then I think we have a real shot for the next 5 or 10 years, right? Then for the existing, populace that have already graduated, then these other private sector programs are what I think can target those guys. Because the truth is, as someone said, I can't remember who iterated it, the people who are in school now, in secondary school now and university are still going to come and meet us here, right? So if we don't do something about it, the same problem that we're having now will become amplified. So I think, a government strategy, from, even if it's not government-led, but in partnership with government, to focus on the educational system and how, not just, the curriculum, of course, working with the private sector, but the curriculum being enhanced and improved on, or introducing things that have to do with digital skills, the basic skills that you can come out with. And sometimes they don't have to be engineering roles, it could be non-engineering roles as well, because we're lacking in that, not just in Nigeria, even globally, product managers, like, Tunde has already mentioned. So many roles, customer care, customer support. There's so many roles that are in tech that are not engineering that, a lot of, to me, are low-hanging fruits that we can easily get digital skills to train on a massive scale, right? This is what I think. Train the trainers who will then train the students. Empower them with, the technology. Budgets should be given to these schools to be able to access, hardware, data centers or computer centers with, laptops. Now, I know that some of these projects have been attempted, in small versions for specific schools. But if we had a, federal approach to all the schools, both state government and federal government, then I think we might stand a chance.
That's awesome. I want to hear from Ayo, and then I'll let Ida, if she's willing to speak, close us up on that one point. Then we move to the next one. Ayo, anything to add about what government can do on the policy side? You're muted. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, queuing behind Chuka, I think that's absolutely very important. There are private sector players who are already playing in that space, and government needs to support to get to the skill that we need, given the huge demand that we have in the country. And of course, in terms of also providing some sort of a guaranteed market for private sector outputs, particularly in technology space, government may consider looking at how to retrofit the current procurement laws to encourage take-up of the outputs or the products that the private sector churns out. Currently, the procurement laws do not appear to favor technology startups. So that's one area, and I'm glad that Dr. Zarifa is on the call because NIDA is working on some form of startup policy, and I'm privileged to be part of that engagement. And hopefully we can create that sort of a guaranteed market to the private sector.
That's amazing. Mrs. Hello, Dr. Ida, can you hear me?
I'm not a doctor.
Okay, my bad.
That's fine. And I'm just laughing because I'm always fascinated by people who do PhDs and get called doctor. Anyway, that's my weird humor. So this is actually a really interesting conversation, and I really agree with everything that Chuka has said. When you look at the digital economy in Nigeria, there are 5 pillars that we have identified as the World Bank and working with the governments to look at that need to be developed for any country to achieve their digital economy. The first is digital infrastructure. If you don't have access to internet connectivity, it doesn't matter how much digital skills you train people with, they won't be able to utilize them. And with this wide gap in connectivity that we have, particularly in Nigeria, you have people in the rural areas who are already isolated. So in this conversation about digital skills in terms of education, we're only talking about people in urban areas because people in rural areas simply don't have access to the connectivity to even know that these opportunities exist. 2 other pillars that are really relevant here are digital skills and digital entrepreneurship. I mean, these are 2 pillars that have been identified that if we don't develop the skill set to sort of grow the digital leaders of tomorrow, even with the connectivity opportunities, we're simply just not going to move forward. And this is, again, particularly relevant to people who are not within the education space. That is something that is really important. Then we actually have digital financial services. A large population of Nigerians remain unbanked. And if we don't utilize or spread out and create an enabling environment for digital financial services, that financial inclusion will simply never happen. And that's something that really affects e-commerce, of course, as well as digital platforms. In terms of programs that the government should do, and completely right, in our engagement with government, they recognize that it's so essential that they invest in digital skills for young people and reform the educational space, but also provide, support to vocational schools, to vets, etc. So this year alone, we have 3 projects that are supporting that. One of them is in Edo State. The other one is called Ideas. It's a federal level project. And then also Agile, it's also a federal level project. All these 3 projects are specifically focusing on digital skills for people in primary schools, secondary schools, universities, and also people who are not within the digital skill education space. So young people who just don't have opportunities to go to school, because I mean, they are also suffering quite a lot from unemployment. And the programs are structured in 2 ways. One, as Chuka had said, we have support to schools to look at the curriculum, reform the curriculums, train the teachers, and use the private sector to identify and support the curriculum development and training rollout, because at the end of the day, you are the ones who are employing, you are the ones who are providing these financing opportunities, but also grants. So what we realize is that a lot of hubs are popping up and they don't have enough finances to remain sustainable for a very long period of time. So under these projects, we're also giving out grants to different hubs in different states. It's a competitive process. It's going to be open, transparent. And the point is, one, to use it for your own operating expenses, etc., but also to train young people, and not just train them, but also train them and link them to job opportunities. And one of the biggest things here is, again, like, so I don't know who had mentioned on remote working. I mean, regardless of COVID, remote online work was something that was already growing, and now with COVID, something that we really have to look at and take seriously. So hearing these ideas are really helpful for us, and I would hope that we can actually share with you some of these documents when they become public, so that we can partner with you on these training programs that we're rolling out and on the hub support to hubs. I think especially when it comes to the curriculum development, we had invited one of my colleagues, Rahima, to join. She's not here at the moment, but right now we're working with the Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy and the Ministry of Education to develop a national framework in Nigeria for digital skills development, competencies, and looking at how we can support the reform agenda in that space. So we'll be really keen to follow up on this conversation with all of you, because you seem to have really great ideas, which I think would be really useful for us. And if we could organize like a focus group discussion at some point in the next few weeks, I think that would be really add a lot of value to our programs.
Fantastic. Love that framework. So the 5 things: digital infrastructure, digital skills, digital entrepreneurship, digital financial services, and digital platforms.
Yes.
So I think that's very good food for thought. Actually, I have a question for you, Ida, following from that. Actually, when you read the World Bank report on digital economy, and I actually have read it, one thing that always kind of surprises me is that, despite the handicap in infrastructure, right, you actually find that we're really on par with other societies when it comes to digital skills, right, and digital entrepreneurship. Why do you think that is? How come the handicap in infrastructure is not necessarily hampering us when it comes that's in comparison with other peer digital, other peer countries like Kenya and so on? Why do you think it's not hampering us in terms of digital skills and digital entrepreneurship?
Honestly, I think it's what all the panelists have said. I think it's just, and I don't know, I don't have any scientific evidence to back this, but I've worked in different African countries, but Nigerians just have this drive that you just don't see anywhere else. And, you know, like I said, when we did our training programs that start at 9 a.m., we had participants showing up at 6 a.m. We had some participants who would walk back and forth 2 hours a day. They didn't have money for transport, but they're like, I am not going to miss out on this opportunity. You know, one of our participants was a security guard in Abuja who quit his job and moved to Kaduna to get training with zero. He had no money. He had no way of surviving. He was like, I'll figure it out. You know, and in the end, I think he was being given some sort of money from somewhere else to survive. So it's just that it's such a huge population that you have to be excellent to rise above the top. If you have 41 million people who are unemployed, and I'm not even talking about underemployment yet, the job market is really tight. We have, I think, 15 million people coming out of the education system a year, if I get that correctly, and only 4 million, sorry, but yet only 1 million were able to get jobs. So what happens to all the rest of them? You know, so I think there's natural talent. I really think there's natural talent. And in as much as there is not always an enabling environment, I find that the private sector is very great at nurturing and developing that talent. Nigerians have really high standards when it comes to, you know, professionalism, work ethic, everything that revolves around employment. And we see that I'm Gambian, and I remember we always say that customer service started in Gambia when GT Bank set up, because they were supposed to set up and they waited 6 months. They said, we're not setting up for the next 6 months because you guys have zero discipline and work ethic. And they literally trained everybody in that bank for 6 months. And at the end of that, whenever people now move to other banks, that's how literally the standards in Gambia increased when it came to the banking industry because of GTB. So I'm just saying that to sort of illustrate, you know, how the talent that's there. And we had a program where we thought we'd be lucky if participants earned $50,000. This was in Nigeria over the year. They earned $200,000. You know, we had the IBM from Dubai come down to Nigeria, and he was like, you know, the talent that we're seeing coming out of these programs, we're not seeing in other African countries. We need to figure out what is happening in Nigeria. So it's something that's there. I think it's just the youth are excellent. They create an enabling environment for themselves. And I think when you're able to create success in an environment that's not enabling, you know, and that's what makes me a bit sad when I think about it. I think, you know, imagine if there was an enabling environment, how much more people could get done if they had systems that were supportive, legal regulatory environments that were supportive, you know, connectivity, the training opportunities, job opportunities. So it's just, I guess it's in your DNA. I don't have a scientific answer, but
well, I'm glad.
You know,
I'm glad it's not the Nigerians saying it.
No, it's a fact. It's there.
Absolutely. So I have one more question, and I think this should go to Chuka, Tony, Tunde, and anybody else who wants to chime in. Which is, you know, despite all these accolades that Auntie Ida has decided to pour on us Nigerians, where do you think we have room for improvement? Because we're not perfect. Where do you think the talent has room for improvement? And I don't want us to focus on what government can do. Maybe we can a little bit, but I want to focus on what can the talent actually do better, yeah? And what can companies do better?
Yeah. So I feel, I think mentorship, right? I think mentorship is something, you know, we don't have a culture of proper mentorship. We have mentorship by proxy, but I don't think we have like structured mentorship in most of the organizations that we see coming out in tech, right? From the enterprise to the corporates to the startups, right? I don't think we have a mentorship culture. Like if we could do a bit more, because the truth is, most of the people who, a lot of people, okay, let me rephrase that. A lot of people who get to where they are today, they got there because they picked up a lot of things along the way. They've experienced things and had to readjust, learn, imbibe, readjust. You know, it's the same thing. You know, learn, rinse, and repeat. But then passing that knowledge down is it's a bridge that still needs a lot of work, because what tends to happen is a lot of people who are coming after them still have to go through that same process. But if there's a fast track, you know, bridge where they can access or tap information from people, because of course you can always get information from the web. That's when you're educating yourself and building the talent. But then harnessing other skills, you know, other skills that technically isn't taught in a classroom, is only taught on the job, right? You can only learn that if you get mentored by somebody or you work for someone who can mentor you. A good chunk of our senior developers sometimes can be dictators rather than leaders, you know. So I feel like if there is some sort of, I feel, I don't know how to explain it, but I think mentorship can one some way, shape, or form. Yeah.
Let me chip in there. I'm not supposed to do this, but I have to, which is that, you know, me and you have talked many times about the need for like a technical manager school.
Exactly.
Because I feel like a lot of our developers are extremely brilliant, but they're just not managers, right? Like they don't know how to manage human beings. So they're like incredibly brilliant, but like the worst human beings. I'm sorry to say.
maybe not the worst. Maybe not the worst human beings. Maybe worst human beings is a bit strong. But I feel. But I understand what you're saying. So, but I feel like so interpersonal skills, communication, there's a way to pass your message across, to give constructive criticism without berating the person. You know, there's so many things, and all this comes from mentorship. Like you said, I think a technical manager school, that makes a lot of sense, you know.
I have money for it. Let's talk.
I mean, but we in our own little ecosystem, we do what we can do. Google gives us the platform to be able to offer some kind of mentorship, you know, some sort of inspirational mentorship, any which way, shape, or form that we can. But, you know, how can we amplify that? How can organizations, or how can we start to work with each other? Most startups and organizations outside of events and meetups, we don't really work with each other. You know, the CEOs may talk to each other, you know, but do the engineers really do? You know, I've tried, and I'm still working at that, to try and get a lot of the engineers to communicate with each other and learn lessons from each other to see how we can make the ecosystem great. You know, I think it was in was it in Kenya or was it in Uganda? I think Kenya or Uganda, where I visited, and apparently the CTOs in the ecosystem and senior engineers in the ecosystem were on this humongous WhatsApp group, right? And where they threaded and shared information and you know, mentored each other, if that makes any sense. And you see, that was a very powerful tool that they could use, you know, to help set standards that, you know, everybody can imbibe. The same way Ida has already mentioned how GT Bank came and said, no, you know, you guys still need a bit of training. And then other banks followed through as they came through, you know, setting up banks there. It's the same kind of thing, you know. It's not good for us to do things in isolation, you know, but if we work together and if we find a way to put structured mentorship in place, either by some of the suggestions you just made, or, you know, however, I feel like that will be of great value. I mean, that's the only thing that really comes to mind right now.
Yeah, Tunde, what do you think?
I think you guys have hit the nail on the head, right? And you said the bulk of what I had in mind, but I just wanted to broaden that word mentorship a bit, right? In my experience, I see that the equation is typically not balanced between employers and employees, especially in technical roles. And how do I mean? In most instances, an employer is only interested in what you can give him as a developer, for example, right? What's your output, right? Having proper career development plans or programs for these engineers or these product managers or for whatever is typically missing, right? And I would sort of like ballpark that whole thing into upskilling, right? A lot of the upskilling that happens currently is self-driven, right? I want to earn X amount of income in 5 years and I just drive myself to get all the knowledge I need to get, right? Which is why you would have a situation where, like you guys have rightly said, right? Software engineers, you have, in fact, in my experience, the best software engineers have very, very poor soft skills, right? You just need to figure out how to work with them, right? And it's not just software engineers, technical roles gradually. Soft skills is quite missing. And you don't see a lot of employers focusing on that to say, okay, how do we train and retrain these individuals to build them into proper professionals, right? Right now, we have people who can write code, we have people who can do X, but I won't grade them 100% from a professional perspective because the bulk of the time, soft skills is really missing, right? So I would say that employers need to focus a lot more, right, in terms of providing proper career development plans. And of course, mentorship fits into that, coaching fits into that, training fits into that. When you have a structured career development program, you'll be able to identify the weaknesses of the talents within your organization, and you'll be able to schedule them for appropriate intervention measures. Now, on the side of the employees, what can they do more? I won't lie to you, I was laughing in my head when I was thinking about it, because I think that people are stretched right now, right? There's so much unemployment. People are like really, really hustling to get the jobs that are available, the little jobs that are available. And what you would find, even though the tech ecosystem is a bit strange, because I would say that there's a lot more demand than there is supply, especially for the highly skilled roles, engineering and data science and all that. But you would also find that there's a huge struggle, right, amongst the overall populace to get into the jobs that are available, right? So people are going beyond their means to get trained with very minimal infrastructure, right, to support them. So on the part of the employees, I think the Nigerian DNA is really what is working for us, right? And I would say employers need to do a lot more.
Let me
that DNA, they should do the
yeah,
work.
I wanna hear
to
from
jump
you.
on that. Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I want to jump on that. So absolutely, Tunde has absolutely said that. I think what I even wanted to highlight was something that we used to do at Delivery Science, which eventually became Field Insights, right? We didn't have, and this is speaking to companies who feel, oh, we don't have a big budget, so we can't do it, or we don't have money for training, we're stretched, we can't do it, right? The truth is this, right? Outside of all the other programs that are being held, like the ones IDA is doing and what E is doing, the truth is you still need talent to work with, right? And if you can't afford it because you haven't raised $10 million, like some startups have, and you're building it from the ground up organically, right? Which is what a good chunk of startups in the ecosystem and a good chunk of companies in the ecosystem have been doing for 5 years, 10 years, and are still doing. Right, the ones who are able to raise funds are able to raise funds, fine. And thank God for guys like Maya who have come into the ecosystem to help out with that. But then the rest of them who don't have access, who don't have the connections, who don't have, the relationships, but is watching this video, what can I do? The truth is this: there are a lot of, undergrads in polytechnics, in universities, who are looking for opportunities to either test out the knowledge that they have or even just get into the ecosystem. What we started doing was the closest school to us, the two closest schools to us at the time was Yawa College of Technology and University of Lagos. And what we started doing was we would go to the schools, and then during their internship, the 4-month, 6-month internship program, we'll tell them, come work for us. Now, it was a win-win situation. Here's what I mean. They were looking for an opportunity to gain a little experience or even the foundation for them to learn. And we didn't have a big budget to pay them as full-time employees. So we paid them as interns, tutored and mentored and taught them the best that we can. And then, use them, on, maybe not high-level production projects, but at least there were so many other tasks that they could do that we found very helpful to the company. Rather than get one person who would do 200 of those tasks, we could get, 20 people who will do 10 each. They will gain experience, we will gain, effort. And, it's a win-win situation. What you find most days is for the already established startups, they are looking for already baked products. Do you understand? Okay, let me not say products, but already baked human beings, right? Okay. The people who have already done 5 years, 4 years, and then you find all the companies still competing for the same talent. So it's not like there's a lack of opportunities or a lack of jobs. There are jobs. However, they might not be paying at the same competitive rate some of these bigger startups can or bigger companies can. But then that void still needs to be filled. So what are you doing in your own ecosystem? What can you do? You can get, you as the CTO, you as the senior person who has the company, who's been doing this for 4 or 5 years, but doesn't have a big budget, go to these schools, take on interns, mentor, train them. They would at least give you 3 or 4 months of work, which will be valuable to you, trust me. And when they leave, your company will be one of the first companies that they would want to come work for, even at a pay cut, just because of that impact you had on that. This happened to us over and over and over again. In fact, it got so bad that the interns started referring other interns to our company. You want to do your internship? Go to this company or go to that company, go to this company, because what they wanted was the knowledge and the experience.
That's very important. I'm going to end on two. Do you want to add something, Maya? Or does somebody want to add something?
It's Zarifa.
Oh, Zarifa. Okay, please, by all means.
Yes. Yeah, I just want to add on to what the other speakers have said, Mr. Tunde and Mr. Chuka. Right. In terms of what the employers can do, I know we're not talking about government and then government. So I just want to say that at NIDA we have what is called the Technology, Innovation and Entrepreneurship Support Scheme. And what the scheme is about is to build more capacity in the ecosystem. And we have different support schemes. So we have something, what is called the incubation. So hubs, startups at ideation stage can apply to be incubated at hubs that offer that kind of services. We have the technical capacity building. These are just for individuals. You don't have to be a startup. You don't have to be part of any organization or to apply and to be able to participate. And it's just to build technical capacity for Nigerians. And we have the internship also. And the internship is ties directly to what Mr. Chuka has said. It's just to enable the youths to have hands-on practical skills to try to translate what they learned in school to practical to the practical aspect of it, and it will allow it will also enable them to work in a real world environment in an organization to also build other skills apart from the knowledge they gained from the university or from the College of Education, whatever institution they finish from. It will allow them to experience working in an organization, to be part of projects that will also build on their skills. And we have the hub upscaling program, which are for hubs that don't have enough capacity in terms of the technical capacity of the hubs. And these other hubs who have the capacity can now train these hubs so that they can now build their capacity in terms of incubation in whichever track they're interested in. So if it's incubation, if it's acceleration, if it's even providing just workspace, just to make sure that at the end of their training, you'll be able to provide optimal services to whoever is coming to them. I hope that makes sense.
That makes sense. Yeah, no, it makes sense. I'm just gonna quickly ask us two more questions because we have like 5 minutes, so we're gonna do this quickly. I saw in our internal and alumni chat group, I saw a very funny post where somebody was like showing, you know, how we started and where we are now, and I saw a picture of like Andela fellows taking a group picture in Yaba, and another group of Andela fellows taking a group picture in Amsterdam. And I was like, nothing else could describe I won't call it a waste. It wasn't a waste. We changed people's lives. But nothing else can describe the pain I feel when I think about why we started doing Andela and where we are now. How do we address it? Like, how do we address this steady exit of trained digital economy talents, gaining skills, and instead of being in a position to mentor, basically shipping out of the country and paying taxes elsewhere? So how do we address it?
Who wants to take that?
But why is that a bad thing?
Yes.
Okay, that's a good question. Why is that a bad thing?
If we're talking about global talent, we're talking about remote working, and these are obviously ambassadors of Nigeria, and we're talking about remittances. Remittances, money that Nigerians from abroad spent in Nigeria contributes significantly to the economy. So I'm not really sure why when we talk about brain drain, even the word is negative, but why is it a bad thing? We're exporting talent, and it means that there's a market, and we need to look at creating more talent to export more, or creating environments where they stay.
I love that.
But I'm not sure why it seems as a bad thing.
I'm thinking, so my question is, how do we help some of them stay? How do we get more of them to stay?
You can't force somebody to stay if they don't want to.
What, I agree with you. Why don't we hear from the engineers themselves? Like, what would make you stay? Chuka, you stayed. Why did you stay? I know. I've tried to get you to go myself.
No, so just FYI, I am going. I am going. I just
you are
stayed.
going. Okay, sorry.
But
thank God, finally.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, I mean, to be honest, Ida has eloquently put it. The truth is, if there's better opportunity and there's better everything, right? Access to connectivity. Let me rephrase that: stable access to connectivity, cheap access to power.
Okay, I'm taking a list now. Stable access to connectivity. I hope Professor Zarefa is hearing us, huh?
Yes, I'm hearing.
This is the wish list, huh? Okay.
Cheap access to power. Cheap access to power. I feel like distributed access to talent it will no longer be a problem. So let me not list that as a criteria. But those first two, and then of course mobility. It's not really easy to move around in the populous or this, the cities, right? Because of things like congestion and all that, which is, indicative of a larger problem, right? Which I don't think that you can solve for on an individual level. It's more a federal or, it's a government thing. So maybe except someone like you runs for office and then we will vote you in so that
no. Don't put it
I'm just saying but the truth is if there's opportunity, of course, financial gain, right?
Yeah.
I was looking at some of the numbers that Nike from Jobberman shared in her presentation, and if I'm being honest, like I know this is a public forum, but I do those numbers, in terms of remuneration, they're kind of appalling, right? This is what we're paying our engineers, right? When we can get better and we can get more. I think people like Andela came in and kind of even raised the bar from what was even obtainable. However, that being said, it's not good to flog on the local, companies, because they can only pay according to their paying power and their paying strength. If they don't have the wherewithal to be able to pay those competitive rates, then they cannot pay. So it's technically not even their fault, right? So a lot of the problems are systemic. It is, and if you can't solve all these systemic issues, it will be hard for you to say, oh, can we encourage them to stay? And like Ida has put it, it's not a bad thing. It really isn't a bad thing, right? If Nigeria comes, we already mentioned that we have the hustle spirit. We do by any means necessary. In fact, there's something I used to say: to live and work in Nigeria and operate in Nigeria, you have to be your own government. You have to create your own power supply. You have to create your own. You have to create your own everything. You have to create your own economy, right? And that's part of what feeds that hustle and entrepreneurial spirit, because you have to make sure things work by any means necessary. So, is it a good thing? Yeah. Who knows? Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. Let me go to Maya. Maya wanted to say something. I want to hear from Maya.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you just fine. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I was saying, if you built up your intellectual capital domestically, which would in turn increase the GDP and in turn increase the buying power and the services provided and the infrastructure, would you really have a need to be sending back remittances? Like, do we want to think, is it possible to even think of the post-remittance society where Nigerians individually make enough where they don't need to depend on those who have gone to the diaspora in order to pay their bills, or like the black tax inherently? Like, do we want to think of a society and the potential for a society where we have the infrastructure and private sector and public sector support so that we have the standard of living to remain in our home country? So I wanted to challenge that idea of, well, I mean, it's not such a bad thing for everyone to go abroad, but then who's going to be working on the most complex problems within Nigeria? I certainly understand, it's difficult now. Somebody's got to invest in it to start, and that's not everybody. But I really want to challenge that. And as somebody who's sitting in Nigeria dealing with the power and internet issues as we speak, I get it. I understand. But it's something that I absolutely see essential in investing in and committing to in order to see the future society that we all hope for.
Okay, we have to wrap up. They're already warning me. So I'm going to end with one question. How has the pandemic
changed Nigeria's digital talent ecosystem? And your final words. So I'm going to go through everybody, and you can just tell us in a minute, how has the pandemic changed the digital talent ecosystem in Nigeria, and what should we be doing going forward, right? So I'll start with you. I'll start with Zarifa.
Okay, thank you. Right, the pandemic has shown us that we can be much more creative than we give ourselves, than we think we can. So with the pandemic, even at the beginning of the lockdown, some organizations were already thinking of, okay, moving online, all their operations online, having their meetings. Things moved on. I know that it affected the economy negatively, but also it opened up opportunities. So many opportunities for the technology ecosystem. And I think it's a kind of, I know, I don't want to say it's a blessing, but it helped us think outside the box, and it helped us move to, instead of relying on one-on-one interactions or live interactions, it enabled us to move a lot of things online. Even now, as the economy has opened, airports have opened, we are still utilizing the internet to carry out our operations, and things are moving. Thank you.
Fantastic. Let's hear from you.
Sure. So I think the pandemic has been quite disruptive in the sense that, in a positive, well, I'm not very positive about COVID, but in the positive sense is that for us, it brought all the different government stakeholders together. In the past, when we talk about digital economy, digital skills, talent, entrepreneurship, it was with one ministry, one parastatal, it was very isolated, whereas now we have all other ministries and governments saying, wait, how do we move forward on this? What are the issues? So it's really brought the conversation to the forefront, prioritized it. It's shown why it's really important that we invest in digital skills, promote remote working, promote connectivity, access, and address the rural gap. And also one thing we haven't talked about, but is critical, is the gender aspect as well to all of this, making sure that women are able to get an opportunity to move into this space and to thrive in it. And I think moving forward for us, like I said, is really continuing to invest in the infrastructure, talent from the government and private sector end. And we're really looking forward to partnering with you. We're all, not all, some of us are moving to Nigeria. We're just delayed because of COVID. And I think once we're on the ground, it'll be a lot easier to build these relationships, networks, and partner more closely. So thank you.
Fantastic. Maya?
Yeah, I mean, so there was a slowdown, but if you've seen that Quartz article about how the pandemic has not affected African liquidity events as much as other more developed nations, if you even see the World Remit, et cetera, there have been so many acquisitions, so much liquidity events that have happened on the continent this year, and the way that we're dealing with the pandemic in other countries and the way that it's impacted us shows that despite all of the challenges the continent faces, we still have the potential to come ahead even in times of crises. For us, we've invested in 3 times more companies this year alone than we did in the last 2 years combined, because we're finding there's incredibly more opportunities. And again, I want to say that Nigerians on ground, people don't need passports anymore. Everything, every pitch event, every deal closing, every diligence, everything has been moved virtual. So no matter where you're based, you can reach out to Silicon Valley, Tel Aviv, any investors from anywhere in the world. Twitter is the new passport. And I just want people to leave and remember that they have access to all of this at their fingertips.
Fantastic. Okay, Mr. Ayo, so we can wrap up. We're just going to take a few minutes. Mr. Ayo, are you
yes,
there?
please. Yeah, I am. I mean, I've listened to everything we've said. COVID definitely had an impact. Government services, for example, some of the reforms that we thought we had put to bed unraveled because of the disruption, but it also underscores the need for technology and the engagement of the tech space with government, so that constant handshake would strengthen government and sort of heighten the skills, the efficiency in that space, so that together Nigerians would, as they say, the private, the main streets and the broad streets, and of course, governments will altogether move towards the right direction.
Fantastic. Okay, Mr. Adeniran.
All right. So there's this cartoon I saw a couple months ago once the lockdown started, and it was a cartoon of an executive, business executive, basically saying digital transformation is years away. I don't see our company having to change anytime soon. And then COVID-19 just came and swept that all away. So I would say that COVID-19 has really been the biggest driver for digital transformation and innovation globally, right? That's undisputed. In the private sector, for example, it's really driven remote work. I used to be involved in a lot of arguments around remote work, right? And the biggest point I had was, oh, Andela is doing it, so why can't we do it, right? But right now, it's become like a remote first world where companies are even really thinking about the fact that it's actually cheaper to get your employees to work from home, right? Instead of having a 3-floor office or a 4-floor office, you have 1 floor, right? And give room for people who want to come into the office to work from the office. While people who want to work from home, they can work from home, right? So it's done a fantastic job there. And of course, the very fact that, for example, we are seeing better work-life balance across board, right? We are seeing that a lot of people are predisposed to learning new skills during this period because they're working from home. So for example, on our Jobberman soft skills training program, we are seeing over 50,000 people indicate interest to come into that program for our employability skills training every month, right? And the number has been growing on a month-on-month basis. So those are some of the benefits that I see from this whole situation. It's been a downside economically with the recession and all that, but there's been some good aspects of it that several companies have taken advantage of, as well as individuals as well.
Fantastic. Finally, Mr. Ofili, tell us how has it changed? How has this changed the talent landscape, and where do we go from here?
Yeah, so for me, I mean, everybody else has probably mentioned the mainline thread, which is it has changed the way we work, and the pandemic kind of has disrupted how we, look at life, or how we even approach work. So, but the two things, one is because of because everybody moved online, a lot of services were actually overwhelmed. A lot of technology services were overwhelmed, which would force some other companies to expand. So there's obviously opportunities there. And I think that some people recognize those opportunities and quickly grab them. And some other people, haven't. And if you're one of those, there are actually a lot of opportunities there because of the scale in which everybody, moved online. The second thing is content, because everybody's now glued to their digital devices and they're glued to the, to technology and glued to the internet, outside of work hours, content is the only other thing they can consume because, physical interaction, physical socializing, and so on and so forth, isn't as, isn't done as much as it used to. It's now in controlled bits. So everything is naturally done online. Maya's already hinted, Twitter is where things are happening, especially in the DM. So content is what people are consuming now. So could you also be a content creator? That's another way you can take advantage of it. Start a YouTube channel, start blogging, start writing, start sharing the knowledge that you have. And if you don't have knowledge that you want to share, there's other forms of content that you can create that other people can consume. And you can actually monetize it and create an economy for yourself.
Fantastic, fantastic. Okay, so I just want to say thank you to everybody for joining this and for sharing your thoughts. And I'm sure we've all learned something from this. Thanks a lot. And I'm just going to hand over now to Ada to continue from here. So thank you so much to all the panelists. Ada, over to you.
Thank you. An amazing conversation and discussions we've been having. Thank you so much, E. This was superb. I want to say thank you to all our panelists, Maya, Ayo, Dr. Zarifa, Chuka, Mr. Tunde, Ida. It's like 5 a.m., 6 a.m. in DC, but you're here. Thank you so much. To some of the members of the audience, thank you for joining. Somebody asked a question about how many people came back. Three people came back. We said that in the opening remarks. And our the training curriculum for the Digital Explorers was designed to factor in the needs in Nigeria and in Lithuania. I hope that answers your question. But if you want to learn more about the Digital Explorers program, you can visit digitalexplorers.eu. And if you're a private company, in about 4 to 6 months, there will be some exposed and well-trained digital data analysts and data scientists, female data analysts and data scientists that will be returning as part of the second cohort for the program. Do well to reach out if you need to, if you'd be interested in hiring them on their return. On that note, I just want to say a big thank you to everyone. Thank you to all our partners, ICMPD, Enterprise Lithuania, Code Academy, Manta Nugenia, I know they are watching from Africa, to the VP team. Thank you everyone for making this program a success, of being huge and awesome partners. Until next time, have a lovely week ahead. Thank you. Bye-bye.